But of course, tonight is not about my events or UK Homes Network. It's about the incredibly important and special James Rogers, who is joining us this evening. Um, James, how are you doing?
I'm good, mate. Important and special. That's the
Yes.
first time I've ever been called that.
So I was going to give you a bit more sort of relevant compliments, but you are important and special. I just couldn't get my words out.
I
Um,
thought, you could have said portly.
Portly,
Yeah.
athletic.
I don't think so. Not at the minute.
James, I met you probably about 18 months ago, 2 years ago, and I'd been aware of property in Poppadoms. I mean, it's just mental because it felt like it literally burst on the scene where overnight you'd conquered the UK in terms of networking. And property networking is so important. I was speaking to someone today who was talking about the difference between sort of the wider general business community and property. And I said, well, for every business event, you've got a property event because it's not a product based business. It's a cliche, but it's a people based business. And the only time that you get that opportunity is either through sort of messaging them and developing a relationship through social media, but really it's about looking in the whites of their eyes and seeing, you know, whether you can trust this person and whether they're worth their salt. And you really taken a very stale beige model of quite a sort of set format, a status quo, if you like. And you went, do you know what? I'm going to give the people what they want, which is a curry on a Tuesday and a Thursday night, and actually allow them to sit back and relax. Where did that idea come from?
I so I go to a lot of networking events as you do, and you've hit the nail on the head. They were quite stale, not now, but previously. They were quite stale, quite boring, and everybody would comment all of the time that I wish somebody would do something a bit different. So I used to host Stoke-on-Trent Pin. So I used to take everybody from the meeting for a curry afterwards. Now, my meeting was quite well attended in terms of, in comparison to the wider Pin networking meetings, because we went for the curry. We built that deeper relationship because there wasn't a great deal of networking time available at those meetings. So when I stepped down from doing that, I thought I sort of kept revisiting the idea, and I thought, well, I'd just start a curry night, just see how it goes. I did want to scale nationally, but when I first started it off, I wasn't quite sure how I was going to do it and how it sort of worked out. But I just thought getting something started is better than getting nothing started. So I went about doing the first meeting. That one took place November of 2022. 8 people turned up, and then it sort of gradually developed as the next year or so went on, and I started scaling in January of 2024.
And did you start it off in Stoke where you left off?
Yeah, started it in Stoke because that's where I had a good sort of contact base. That was my investment area. So I thought, it was as good as place as any to start it.
And what I'll get onto your property career in a second, but I'm really fascinated about this because I me and you have sort of joked about what it's like running an event, and I only do four a year. I mean, to be fair, I've only done two a year for the since last year. I'm going to do four a year this year, and I'm nearly in the position where I need to be sectioned about a week before. But you do this every single month, and you're not just responsible for one meeting. There's so many meetings that are now international. How how do you sort of get it to that point and ensure that, because I've done your event in Newcastle, I've done your event in Coventry, I've done your event in Manchester, and every single one of them is just as good as the other one. I can't tell you which one I preferred, other than the fact that Coventry is only 5 minute drive away from my house. So that would be the only sway. But there's no difference. Whereas I've done sort of circuit speaking, and there's a massive difference in the quality of each event. How do you get it to that size and then ensure that every event is just as good wherever they are?
You've got to associate yourself with the right people. I obviously couldn't do this on my own. We've got some exceptional hosts. They run tremendous meetings, every single one of them. I also kept it simple so that it could be easily replicated and just chose the right people. If you go into the room, all of the hosts are very talented, very welcoming, very enthusiastic, and that transfers itself into the room. The delegates are then, all the right kind of delegates are attracted in, and it just continues to be a replicated situation across the entire country. And that's what I wanted. I wanted you to, if you went to a meeting in, northeast, southwest, you would have broadly the same experience. And I do think we achieved that.
The other thing I've noticed with yours is that there seems to be, in terms of the hosts, they're naturally full of charisma and got stage presence, but there seems to be sort of it's more reflective of the brand, the fact that you have maybe younger people coming in and given the opportunity to host these events, but you would think if they're younger, they maybe possess less experience. Like Lottie, for example, who runs the one up in the northwest. She's quite young, but at the same time, she runs her own letting agency and a very successful business person within her own right. So obviously, being surrounded by the right people has had a massive difference. But what's the chemistry for being able to find, those sorts of talents?
I mean, it's you. I'm lucky, I think, to a certain degree.
Yeah.
I've created something that people want to be involved in. Every host, there's no criteria in terms of you've got to be this old or you've got to be doing X, Y, or Z. It's you're at the front of the room on merit. I'm not bothered about gender. I'm not bothered about age. None of that matters. It's do you deserve in your own right to be at the front of the room? If the answer is yes, then you get a chance.
Yeah, love that. Great stuff. So let's take it right back to the beginning in terms of your property career. Talk me through how you got into property. Most people I speak to, they fell into it, or it was accidental, or they simply just walked straight into a job. Mine was I found one in a local newspaper being advertised, and I didn't have a job at the time. How did you get involved in property?
Well, I started out as a tradesman. So I was a painter and decorator. I did that and then I retrained as a plumbing and heating engineer. Get fairly bad asthma. So all the dust on site, crawling around in lofts, doing
Mm.
sort of boiler installs and all the rest of it, where it was not doing me any good. So the consultant, after I was hospitalised quite a few times with serious asthma attacks. The consultant said, "Look, mate, you need to sort of have a look at doing something else." And I didn't want to do anything else. I liked what I did. I liked working with the lads. We had a good laugh. We're all self-employed. Worked our own hours, obviously with long hours, but our own hours. And I didn't really at that point want to change anything about it. Although I sort of had to because he was saying, if you don't give something else a go, then you're not well. If you do reach retirement age, you're gonna have no quality of life. So I thought, right, I have to have a little look around. And I'm from Devon originally, but I'd moved up to Stoke-on-Trent when I was 24. So I'd sort of had a mate down there. He was quite a prominent developer, owned a large commercial portfolio. And I just got on the phone. I said, "Mate, there's some really cheap property in Stoke. You might want to come and have a look." So he came up. We came to an agreement. He funded it. I'd find the projects. He'd fund it. We bought through auction, and we just sort of started flipping basically, and that was it. And that's how I got into it. And then as you do start retaining a few, and off we go.
And do you think that sort of tradesman experience with the plumbing and the heating and the decorating, do you think that gave you a an advantage to maybe some of the other people coming into the industry, or do you think it doesn't matter how well prepared you are for it, there's still always
I
stuff
mean,
that
when I look back now, what we were doing was very basic, but it worked. I mean, I wasn't going to any networking events. I had no knowledge of, creative deal structuring or strategies or anything like that. I just, I would say we were looking at properties, right? I need to buy it at this because there's this much work and we can sell it for that. And that's all we did. And it worked very well. But yeah, in terms of it was a benefit because I knew how to price things accurately. I had the contacts to fulfill, the labour areas that I couldn't fulfill. I still did a little bit of work on the projects as well to keep just to keep on top of things. So in that sense, it was a positive, but I didn't ever envisage that I would be doing sort of things like I am now. It was quite one trick pony, but it worked. So it was a situation that if it isn't broke, don't fix it.
yeah, 100%. So take me from obviously finding those opportunities in Stoke to becoming a pin host. What happened in between?
Well, so we got to, I think it was about 2017, I think, and my second daughter had just been born, and I thought, oh, I think I need to start keeping a few of these, and I knew I wanted to sort of do. I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to do something. Now, I sort of started speaking to people that I deemed were successful, and every single one of them said you need to go networking. If you're not networking, you need to go networking. And I'd never been to a networking event until 2018. I'd not stepped foot in one. I'd convinced myself that they were not, they're not for people like me. Left school at 14, tradesman, a bit rough around the edges in terms of, how I am. And I just steered clear. So I went to the Stoke-on-Trent pin meeting, and I saw about these commercially valued HMOs and stuff like that, and my mind was blown away because I'd never encountered anything like that before. My view of sort of shared accommodation was these grubby little sort of student places that we'd go to after the pub when we were younger.
Yeah.
So I went into that, and it opened my eyes to a lot of stuff, and that's when sort of things started to snowball for me more because I learned about all these different strategies, what to do, contacts outside of so architects, brokers, all the rest of it, because we used to buy cash. So we had a solicitor, we had a conveyancer, and that was it. We'd buy cash, and off we went and sold them, recycled the cash, and kept going like that.
So how did you get from obviously going out finding these projects, um, expanding your empire across Stoke to then getting involved on the finance side?
Yeah, again, it was just a bit of a bit of a random one. So we sort of built up a small portfolio, and then life started to happen. I had an acrimonious divorce, and I was looking for another challenge. And I thought I just didn't know again what to do, what direction to go in. And I just happened to be speaking to my broker who said, "Oh, we think you'd be quite good at this if you fancy giving it a go." And I thought, why not? And that's literally how it happened. That's how I got into finance, and I worked with them for a bit, and enjoy it, and still do it now. And I'm yeah, I'm very sort of happy and content in this in this particular role.
I had a brief stint working for a development finance and bridging broker, and there always struck me as a lot of admin.
Yeah, but that's the case manager's job.
I was going to say, how do you go from being very hands-on, very practical, skilled, and like you say, came out of school without any qualifications, and now you're dealing with quite sizable loans and finance, and then putting that across to,
It's one of those things. It's the job, so you've got to do it. I can't, pick and choose. I joke that it's the case manager's job, of course, but there's a lot of admin from the brokers or from a broker role. It's part of the job. You've got to do it. It's important, whether somebody's buying their first property or they've got a large portfolio of five, six, 700. That purchase is still important, so it needs to be prioritised. It needs to be respected, basically.
and have you sort of carved out a niche in terms of what it is that you like dealing with, your bread and butter cases? Is there one that you go, oh, that's a bit of me?
Not really. I just like because every case is very different.
Yeah.
So I quite like that variety from case to case and client to client as well, because each client has got their own situation. Each project has got its own sort of troubles and trials and tribulations that you've got to navigate through. So I quite like the variety.
Cool. And in terms of your sort of 978 finance and that's fully underway, you've obviously built some portfolios and done some projects. Where did the sort of calling get into becoming a pin host and then really sort of leading the front on the networking side?
Like I said, I didn't like, or not, I didn't go networking. And when I went networking, I wouldn't say I didn't particularly enjoy it. I found it I was quite anxious, I think, going
Yeah.
there. Um, and I didn't like public speaking at all. Hated it. Hate being front and center. Don't like it at all. Still to this day, don't like it. And I couldn't even get up and do the 20-second pitch at a PIN meeting. Just I wouldn't do it. So I forced myself into that sort of host position to try and overcome that fear of public speaking, and I wanted to give it a go, and I wanted to see if I could do it.
Yeah, we were saying off camera that 20-second pitch is something else, isn't it? Because it doesn't matter how many times you've spoken on stage. You could speak in front of 3,000 people, but the moment you're in a room full of 25 people and they say, right, deliver a 20-second pitch.
Describe yourself in 20 seconds and just clam up. I
Oh,
haven't got a clue what my name is.
I've been sponsor or partner at different events, and just because of alphabetical order, UK Homes Network always falls last. So I'm watching the room go one by one. So it's just increasing levels of
Yeah.
palpitations between each speaker until it gets to me. I just don't understand how I can. And they always say with public speaking, the more you expose yourself to it, the more sort of confident you seem on the surface.
Yeah, I mean, whether you seem like that on the surface, what's going on internally, I think, is another matter entirely. I may seem calm on the surface, but like even tonight, I'm really anxious about coming and do it because I want to give value. I want people to sort of come away, because they're bothering to spend an hour of their time this evening coming on to listen to me, listen to you, and I want to give you value. I want to give them value. And I think you just put a lot of pressure on yourself to deliver that value. And I certainly do that at P&P and in anything I do. I really want to provide a good service, give value, and I suppose it's that self-imposed pressure that is the problem.
Yeah, I totally get that because it does feel like I don't know if you feel this, but you're your own worst critic.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you question constantly whether there is value in what you're giving and whether it's responded. But I've always noticed that I've watched some amazing speakers and certainly at Property and Poppadoms, so some speakers that have come on stage that may not necessarily be household names within the industry, but they've delivered one of the best talks that I've ever listened to. And then you quietly chat to them after, and they're like, "Was that all right?" And you were like,
Yeah,
"Yeah, yeah." Like
yeah, it
that
was
was
really
really,
good.
really good.
Yeah.
So for anyone that's like, let's say, because I seen a comment in the chat from Sam saying about starting property networking and new with property networking. If you had your time all over again and you were going out to your first networking event, what would you do to prepare yourself? Like, what kind of mindset would you get into? What is the sort of things that you want to achieve by the end of the
I
evening?
think everybody's goals are different, aren't they? So for me, I think it's about why, what am I wanting to, if I'm new to it, I obviously want to learn. So I'm going to put myself in a situation where I want to speak to people that are more experienced than I am. And I think generally people are happy to help at whatever stage they're at. And just because you're new to property, you're not new to life, are you? So you've got your own experiences that have brought you to that point, so you can still add value. So I wouldn't go in with almost like a one track mind of I'm not in property, so therefore I can't add value. You can still add value. You can still contribute.
Yeah, we were sort of chatting about this that the people that come up to you and pitch you straight off the bat either looked
Yeah,
really
don't be doing that.
no, they either look really unexperienced, inexperienced, or they really haven't got the room or got the
It's
vibe of
I
what's
don't think
going
it's
on
that.
yet.
It's they're trying to take, aren't they? It's not what can I offer mindset. It's a what can I take mindset. So they're trying to, they're pitching to you because they want to sell you something.
Yeah,
Now, that's generally not the way to do business. You've got to build a relationship first. It's a mutually beneficial situation, so you're both adding value to each other. So whether that's somebody that wants to sell something, somebody wants to buy something, all right, fair enough. But generally speaking, you want to sort of build some sort of rapport, don't you?
yeah. And do you think that that's why the sort of element of property and poppadoms being in a curry house, which is a much more informal setting, a lot more chilled out, and food is normally what you sort of do with your friends,
Yeah,
that kind of has that immediate psychological effect?
definitely. And again, I still feel uncomfortable in those sort of networking situations. So I wanted an icebreaker, and the curry and the food is a definite icebreaker because you're, I suppose, forced to speak to people, but it's not a forced scenario. So you're asking somebody, pass this, pass that, how's your curry? It's an easy conversation starter, and everybody's generally more relaxed because it's a more relaxed environment. And that was more, I just felt that that would be beneficial in building those relationships and getting the conversations going so that actually people can build rapport a lot quicker, start doing business a lot quicker, and have an enjoyable time as well because you've got a full stomach.
Yeah, it makes so much sense. I find myself when I'm at your events, because I'm not thinking about food because it's already there.
Yeah, this is that.
I'm way more engaged in the conversation because my stomach's not rumbling.
Yeah,
So they get the better side of me. If I'm
yeah.
hungry,
Oh
I'm
God, don't come
I
near me if I'm hungry.
I'm the Snickers advert. I'm a diva when I'm hungry. So
Oh, yeah, I'm terrible. Honestly, I am awful hungry.
yeah, and that puts me right in a good place. So if I'm coming out networking, the default thing that I used to do when I first started out is immediately jump into what do you do? And that's that sort of take thing where you're trying to qualify them the first moment that you've met them to see if you can do business or take business from them. What would you say is your sort of opener? What would you do when you start getting into a room and how would you approach people?
I just like speaking to people about them.
Yeah.
Not necessarily what you do, or tell me a bit about yourself. And definitely finding out a hobby about something because somebody, I love carp fishing. I will talk about carp fishing till the cows come home, right? I am absolutely in my element when I'm talking about fishing. Obviously, property as well, but my hobby I love as much. So if you get me talking about that, I'm all yours, basically.
Yeah, it doesn't matter
Yeah, what are
what
you
the
selling me? I don't care. You've got me talking about what I love. outside of, the career that I love. So I'm going to warm up to you straight away.
So let's go with that then. In terms of carp fishing, how are you finding time to do that with all
Well,
the events that are going on?
I don't basically. I have just literally gone fishing with I still fish with my dad. So
Yeah.
we still go. We fish in a lake in Oxford. So he comes up from Devon, and I sort of go down from up here, and we still fish the lake. We fish together. He had a good session. I only caught, well, only I had a lovely fish, 23-pounder, but he caught an 18, a 26, 28, and 32 and a half, I think it was, or a 33. So obviously he's got the bragging rights, and he will absolutely not let me forget it, which is fair enough because I'm the same. But in terms of finding time to do it, I had to force myself to sort of step away from everything. I still had my laptop out in my bivvy, so I was still doing a bit, but yeah, I do need to make time to do stuff like that because, he's getting a bit older and he's not going to be able to go forever. So that's certainly a priority of mine now. I think we're going to go again next month, possibly or hopefully, and then get a few sessions in next year as well.
Well, I find the whole idea of fishing, I'm not very good at it. And I tried once, I caught a minnow, it took me 4 hours. I've never gone back. Um, I was way more better at crab fishing off Chroma Pier, to be fair.
Bit of
The-
bacon.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. The idea of fishing is quite solitary and quite chilled out, and then you're in your own space. Do you find that you need to recharge the social battery with all the networking that you do? Because I certainly find it is that if I've had two or three events in one week, my social battery's on the floor. And they say that networking is the best way to launch your business, but what's the happy medium?
I mean, I try. I go to, still go to quite a few events, not necessarily P&P events, but other events as well. I do. I think everybody's different. It takes me a while for my social battery to run flat.
Mm,
But I just, you just need to sort of recharge, do whatever you need to do to recharge. I would love to be able to go fishing a bit more than I do, but I think I probably would be able to, but it's more me not taking myself away from what I'm doing because I do love what I do. You've got to love what you do to work the hours that I work, you work, we all work. Um, and that I think that recharging element is important, but I don't have time to recharge either because I've got so much on. It's a bit of a difficult one. Should really make time, but don't.
yeah. And I think you're always going to make sacrifices, whatever business you launch, and it's just
Well,
taking the time when you get it.
certainly when you're building, you know
Yeah.
what it's like. When we were scaling, when we first started scaling property in Poppadoms, it was all on me. I was doing everything. Um, Thankfully now we've got a decent team. But those early sort of meetings, I didn't have a team for quite some time. So I was doing P&P, brokerage as well, and I'm a single parent too. Just for you know, complete transparency, I have my daughter's week on, week off, but it's still chaos when they're here, and then you're trying to catch up when they're not, and you're sort of going around in this vicious circle. You're trying to get ahead for when they come back. So it was really difficult, but it was also really fulfilling because I found the more pressure that I was put under, the better that I was performing. Because I had to. Because I was like, you've got to keep a roof over the girl's head. I have a son as well. He's sort of got his own challenges. He's a little bit older than the girls, but that also needs managing. And I just thought, right, you know, you've got to go all in with it and really sort of take the bull by the horns. You've got an opportunity. So, you know, if you need to work morning, noon, and night, you know, suck it up and get on with it.
Yeah. And when you're scaling that quick, does it feel like it's moving quicker than you are, or is it a case of that you are trying to implement a strategy to take it to each new town, each new city? What does that look like from the inside when it's just you that's building that?
In terms of celebrating your wins, which I just never do for some odd reason. I'm getting better at it now, but again, I was very like back to your sort of your own worst critic comment. I was sort of being really quite harsh with myself. Like, well, you know, that's what you wanted to do. You're doing it, so crack on, get on with
Yeah.
it. Um, and it's only recently that I've sort of managed to start sort of allowing myself a pat on the back and a well done. Because we've done, and it's not me, it's the hosts, it's the team, it's everybody, the delegates that support it. We've done really, really well in terms of what we've achieved in such a short space of time. And I wouldn't say we reinvented the networking scene, but there's a lot more choice out there now, down to, you know, I think that we sort of led the way to a certain degree in terms of on a national basis, because it was just Pin and Progressive really before. And then,
Mm.
you know, you had the other sort of education provider startup, but there wasn't a lot of networking that was available on a national basis. Now you've got loads of stuff. You've got your UK Homes Network, you've got Hard Hats to Heels, you've got P&P, and there's obviously some really, really fantastic standalone events and communities as well. And I think the choice out there is really, really good, and it means that you've got to stay at the top of your game. So,
Yeah.
in terms of sort of back to your question, things getting away from me, it didn't get away from me in terms of I couldn't cope or handle what was going on, but it did get away from me in terms of being able to just step back and assess what we'd done, take it in, and you know, and feel proud of what we'd achieved.
Yeah, and I say I asked that question with love because from what I've noticed with P&P is I've seen other events come about, scale really, really quickly, and the standards are difficult to set and then keep, and hosts come and go because maybe it's not what they thought it was, and giving up your Thursday or your Tuesday night is, it's tough going, whatever else. But from what I can see with P&P is that there are most of your hosts have been with you for a very long time and that really, really represent the brand in a fantastic way. Um, and we've got sort of mutual friends around the industry and some of the organisations and companies that run. And one of the big things that always strikes me is about the culture that they set. And culture is a bit of a wet word because some founders use it and they don't really know what they're talking about. The ones that they're talking about have the high staff retention rates, and
Yeah.
those people that work for those business literally are the brand of that business and would put their head for a wall, for that business. And I get that impression from the P&P hosts is that the way that they talk about it with such affection. So I just wondered what sort of culture it was that you built with that over that period of time that
I
really.
just, I just wanted to. I mean, and I'm glad you've touched on that because it's really important to me personally that you enjoy what you do and you have fun with what you do. Certainly, when you're working, you spend a huge amount of time at work. Why wouldn't you want to make it fun and enjoyable? It's, don't get me wrong, it's a work hard, play hard situation, but generally you attract in a certain type of person, whatever type of person you are. And I've been very lucky that I've attracted in some really sort of high quality people, passionate people, driven people. And like you say, they represent the brand and themselves fantastically.
Yeah. And it really feels like they are able to deliver their personality at the
Yeah,
events.
because it's
Um,
their meeting.
yeah, yeah, it doesn't feel like, although it is a set format, it doesn't feel like a forced format that everyone's
No.
part of. So, yeah, before I get on to the national event, and I really want to ask you about international because that fascinates me. I just wanted to sort of put another prompt out to everyone. So, if you do have any questions for James, please do put them in the chat and we'll get round to those in the sort of last 10 minutes. So, if you've got any questions, whatever it is, please do put them in the chat. So yeah, we'll get on to the national event, but you've launched internationally.
Yeah.
So where is P&P now?
We launched in Hong Kong, and then also in Holland as well. So Amsterdam kicks off next month, and BRR'd as well.
Breda as well.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I've got a bit. I lived in Holland for a year, and while I was there, I tried to get into a state agency because I was already an estate agent at that point. And what I found was that the Dutch market was really difficult to get involved. So basically, if you want to be an estate agent out there, you have to do 3 years at university in Dutch and you have to get a degree at the end of it. And that's where they regulate their real estate agents. And if you want to be in that scene, that's what you have to do. So there was no chance that I was going to be able to do that. Um, and I always find that the Dutch property market, they are it's not as obvious as it is in the UK. So I wondered from your perspective how difficult it is going to somewhere like the Netherlands and trying to sniff that out when you've got no boots on the ground and then creating something in a completely different culture.
It was it was it wasn't as difficult as I thought it would be because I thought launching internationally, I thought, how am I going to do this? What I what I found was that actually, I reach out to the right people, have the right conversations, get introduced to people, just again start building up rapport, seeing, how the land lies, seeing, what is there anything that can be created that's of value to the individuals, not just in the UK but abroad as well. And that's because otherwise it's pointless doing it. If it's not of value, it's a waste of time, and I don't want to waste my time. I don't want to waste anybody else's time. So what I've generally found was that you if you look closely enough, you will find. And it wasn't as daunting and as unachievable as I thought it would be. Now, the whole point of the international launches is to create a community for predominantly UK investors. Now, it's not to say that we won't be creating anything locally for
Mm,
investors abroad, but at the minute we are creating something that's of value to UK well, foreign national expat investors, because from the finance side of things, you see these situations all the time where they've been, there's been unscrupulous individuals that have sold them, deals that possibly, they shouldn't have been. So I thought, well, if I can solve that problem for them, then we're sort of halfway there already. So if they've got a situation where they're interested in an area, so let's say Hull or Stoke or wherever, they can immediately tap into that area. So they've got trusted people that they can, speak with. They've got the hosts that they can liaise with, tradesmen that are affiliated with the meetings, whatever that looks like. So straight away, we've already added value, huge value, because we've stopped a situation by referring individuals that that we rate and we work with.
yeah. And in the Netherlands, they're not massively into curry. Their thing is Indonesian food because
Yeah.
obviously the links with the sort of the British Empire and India, and theirs is with Indonesia. So they go out for an Indonesian. How difficult was it good to find good curry houses out there?
Raider was easy,
Really?
straight away. Just bang, went over there, tested the venue, of course. And yeah, that one wasn't a problem. It was the Amsterdam meeting that's been the issue. So we've had to make a few compromises with that, and hopefully it pays off. But we'll see next month.
Well, I'm gonna have to take a trip out there and try that
Well,
out for
I'm
myself.
sure I'll be a regular visitor there as well.
Yeah, I did do one curry when I lived in Amsterdam, and it wouldn't have been a suitable venue because it was literally you could fit probably about five covers in there as a venue, and I imagine you're going to get a lot more people than that turn up
Well, we
to
hope.
your
We,
events.
we hope.
So yeah, it's really really cool. And you've also, apart from growing it internationally, you've also gone and hosted a number of national events now. And the feedback that I'm seeing on socials pouring out of it, unfortunately, I couldn't make the last one, but I'm definitely going to be at the next one. Talk me through what that's all about and what the format is.
It's just about bringing all the local and international meetings together. So we have got people coming over from Amsterdam already, or from Holland already, and it's just about it's another value add to the community. So you've got your sort of local and regional situations, and now you can all meet up on a national basis. We generally have a theme for each event. So this next one next month is creative finance. So we'll have investors there talking through how they've creatively structured a deal. We'll have lenders there, sort of how it gets funded. We'll, 978 Finance will have an input on what that looks like from the broker side of the fence, and it's all about adding value to the delegates. And hopefully, this one will be another sellout.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing, and it's from my perspective, there's a real sense of FOMO when I see the pictures and everything that's going on with it. So what's left to conquer, James? Like you've pretty much you've got the UK and almost internationally wrapped up. Like where do you see this going now?
We're sort of having a serious look at the education sector, because we are having a lot of people coming through the door having spent 15, 20, 25, 30,000 pounds, sometimes more, on things that just haven't delivered.
Hmm.
So what we're aiming to do is create a situation. So we run masterclasses, we call them. So we run 8 of those a year. The next one's this Saturday in Stoke-on-Trent. Adam Lawrence is doing a portfolio building day, so you can access that for 180 quid, including VAT.
Wow.
Um, so what we're trying to do is we're trying to just do the right thing, I think, is by the delegate. We're not charging a fortune. There's top level information shared by industry leading experts. I mean, I'm sure Adam won't thank me for saying this, but his own days are far more expensive than what he's charging the community.
Hmm.
So that's where we're going next. We're starting to gain traction with it. Hopefully, people understand what we're trying to achieve, and what we're doing, and the goal of it and the aim of it. There's no expensive upsells. There's nothing to upsell apart from, we'll talk about the community. Obviously, we do have a subscription model, but again, that is really, really low cost. It's like 45 quid a month, including the VAT. Um, so with that, you get access to all the master classes, the national events, the video hub, and all the rest of it. So it's a real industry leading product, and that's starting to sort of snowball as well. With getting a lot of people signing up for that, and we're just trying to do the right thing by the industry. Hopefully, everybody else agrees with me, and and these things grow and they all snowball into something, tremendous. And obviously, we've got the support of you guys at UK Homes Network, and
Yeah.
obviously we reciprocate that support, and it's good to be connected with good people outside of your own organization, and I think that really helps things.
There's obviously an enormous amount of people talking about property and poppadoms, and that's why I think you've attracted so many good people like Adam Lawrence, unbelievable. He's the first person I go to when there's something happens
Yeah,
economically or
yeah.
politically, because I know I'm just going to get the
Whether you
most.
understand what he's saying or not is another thing, but
It's like listening to a podcast, isn't it? You
yeah,
try and sort of like dip in and
I
out when
follow
you
it.
can,
Yeah.
but mostly you'll come away feeling a lot more educated. But
Oh,
he,
definitely, definitely.
he's one of those people that I know is the talk is the industry expert, the authority for that subject matter. So I go for that, and I think that's what's been missing from property education is that there is modules or there is one course that is delivered by one individual that is an expert on everything, and therefore
Expert
that's
on
what
everything, but an expert on nothing.
exactly. And I
And this
just
is
what
Yeah, so this is what we do. So we facilitate the days. So we get, we had James Lynch in doing the title splits. We've got Adam in doing the portfolio building. So we facilitate the day, but we get an expert in that field to run the course, and to run the day's content. Now, you can't. I have a bit of a gripe with with that sort of section of the industry in terms of they've not got a portfolio, but they're selling courses how to grow a portfolio. Well, all right, okay, you can have the basics, but you've never been in the trenches like somebody like Adam has. You've never had the experience of complex title splitting deal like James Lynch has.
mm,
And I think it's important that you get the right people in to do the right job. You can't be a 5 minute expert because you're not adding any value, but you're taking a huge amount of money off people.
yeah. And that's really sorely missing from the industry. So I'll be really excited to see that. And
Well, mate, if you
um,
want to come down on the weekend, you're more than welcome to.
yeah, I'd love to. So yeah, in terms of what's next, what have you got lined up? Do you want to give the national event a shout out as well? Because that's coming up
Yeah, so
imminently.
so that's next month, Saturday, the 19th of September, at the Village Hotel in Solihull. Tickets are £55 plus VAT currently, so 66 quid with the VAT. Very cheap for the day that you'll get. We've got lettings updates, finance updates, lenders, investors, all on creative finance. We got, some really, really decent people in the room. Shawbrook Bank will be in the room. Roma Finance are going to be in the room. So, it's going to be a strong day for all involved, and hopefully people will walk away having had some value.
Awesome. Well, we'll get the link out for that in UK Homes Network after this. So, guys, if you want to join us there, that would be amazing, and it's going to be a fantastic day. So, do make sure you book on for that. And I understand you've also got a new series of the podcast coming out.
Well, it's in the pipeline. I'll be doing it with Adam Lawrence, so that'll be. I don't think I'll probably get much in terms of me being able to speak. I'll just let him deal with it. I'll just sit there. I'd like to say sit there and look pretty, but obviously people have eyesight, and that's not going to be the case. But it's exciting that that he is part of because he is officially part of Property and Poppadoms now, so he's come on board. He's adding a lot of value. It's highly flattering that out of anybody that it's me that we're going to sort of between me and him are going to do the podcast. We're looking forward to sort of getting the first few episodes in the bag when we do start it, and we'll have to have you on, mate.
Oh, I'd love to. Yeah, yeah, be a great laugh. Me and you can just watch Adam.
Yeah, we'll just ask him a couple of questions about macroeconomic situations and just wind him up and watch him go.
Yeah, I always like trying to get him to predict policy.
Oh
That
yeah.
always yeah seems to go down really well. James, I am so pleased that we had you on tonight, and it's been absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. Um, I would recommend that if anyone wants to go to their Property Poppadoms event, if they're thinking about doing more networking this September, September is basically a second Christmas for the property industry. It's a second New Year because it's the time where you're thinking, shit, the year is almost out. I've really got to up my game. So if that is your situation, please do make sure you head to the Property and Poppadoms website and get your ticket for your local event. I assure you there will be an event very close by to you. So make sure you get a ticket and go and support your local networking host, because those events are fantastic. But yeah, James, thank you very much for coming on tonight. I really, really do appreciate it, and the feedback in the chat has been brilliant. So yeah, I'll be catching you very, very soon at one
Thanks
of
for
your
having me
events.
on, mate. Really appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. All right, guys. Well, yeah, we will be back next week with Shawbrook Bank. So if you want to join us on Tuesday or Wednesday night for that at 7 o'clock, there's more confirmed details in the UK Homes Network. So you'll find out whether it's a Tuesday or a Wednesday night because it's in there. And I will share the link for the national event and also the Property and Poppadoms website after this. So yeah, hopefully we'll see you in there, and please do keep posting in UK Homes Network. It's great to see all your posts, comments, likes, shares, and yeah, we'll catch you very soon. Good night, everyone.